Polling begins for second phase Bihar Assembly elections in 94 constituencies across 17 districts. 1,463 candidates in the fray. Voting also being held for Assembly by-polls for 54 seats in 10 states. Prime Minister appeals to all voters to practice social distancing while going to vote. Campaigning for third phase of Bihar Assembly polls intensifies. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to hold rallies in Araria and Saharsa today. BJP's JP Nadda and Yogi Adityanath hold rallies to woo voters. RJD's Tejasvi and LJP's Chirag Paswan also campaign. Navies of Quad countries, India, United States, Australia and Japan to participate in Malabar 2020 maritime exercise in Bay of Bengal from today. 4-day-long naval exercise will be a non-contact, at-sea only drill to be conducted in 2 phases. India slams Pakistan for supporting cross-border terror, taking advantage of COVID-19 situation. First Secretary of India's permanent mission at United Nations, Ashish Sharma, calls on Pakistan to eschew all sectarian violence, discrimination and intolerance against their own people. In international news, Republican President Donald Trump and his opponent Democrat Joe Biden engage in last-minute canvassing as the United States gears up for presidential polls today. Over 97 million early votes cast already. Shooting reported from 6 locations, wounding many in central Vienna in Austria. 3, including 1 attacker, killed, while area is cordoned off and large police deployment is underway. Government describes it as repulsive terrorist attack. Hello and welcome to this edition of the news. I'm Rukma. In our top story, we begin the bulletin with news from poll-bound Bihar. In Bihar, voting is underway for the second phase of assembly elections. Polling is being held for 94 constituencies spread over 17 districts in this phase. Over 2 crore 85 lakh voters will decide the political future of 1,463 candidates. Polling will continue till 6 p.m. 6 seats of East Champaran witness 5% voting till 9 a.m. Adequate security arrangements have been made, particularly in Naxal-infested areas, to ensure trouble-free polling. In Patna district alone, 15,000 paramilitary forces have been deployed at different polling stations. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi has appealed to people to come out in large numbers to vote and make the festival of democracy a success. He added that social distancing and wearing of masks is mandatory. He has also urged those voting in seats where by-polls are taking place to vote in large numbers and strengthen the festival of democracy. Bihar Governor Phagu Chauhan cast his vote for the second phase of the polls today at the booth in Government School Digha, Patna. He spoke to media persons and appealed to all to participate in the election in large numbers. The governor said he hoped that voting percentage will be more than the previous time.
लोगों को यही अपील करेंगे कि लोकतंत्र के पर्व में बढ़ चढ़ के हिस्सा लें और वैसे भी बिहार जो है सबसे आगे है। जब हम लोग समझ रहे थे कि बहुत कम वोट पड़ेगा कोरोना के नाते, लेकिन फिर भी 54-55% वोट पड़ा। अब की बार मुझे उम्मीद है इससे भी ज़्यादा वोट पड़ेगा।
And Deputy Chief Minister Sushil Modi also cast his vote at a polling booth in Rajendra Nagar in Patna. He urged people to step out of their homes, cast their vote, maintain social distancing and keep wearing masks. LJP President Chirag Paswan also cast his vote at a polling booth in Khagaria. In a message to voters for polling day, the Election Commission has urged people to check their names on the voter list by calling helpline number 1950 or Voter Helpline app or NVSB portal. Also, it said to carry ID card or any identity document specified by the Commission. Further, polling booths are equipped with hand sanitizers and staff have been provided with masks, face shields, gloves and other personal protective equipment. The Election Commission has also provided single-use gloves for voters who will use electronic voting machines. Thermal scanning is being undertaken at all poll activity sites and masks are mandatory. Moving on, meanwhile, high-octane campaigning continues in the state for the third and final phase of polling. Leaders across political parties are crisscrossing the state to garner support for their candidates. For the BJP, Prime Minister Modi will hold rallies in Araria and Saharsa today, while party president JP Nadda and Yogi Adityanath will also hold rallies to woo voters. RJD's Tejasvi and LJP's Chirag Paswan will also campaign at several places. Nadda and Yogi Adityanath were on the campaign trail yesterday as well. Bihar CM Nitish Kumar also addressed multiple rallies. Tejasvi Yadav appealed for support for the Mahagathbandhan in his election meetings.
Preparations for second phase of polling is underway in Bihar. Campaigning for third phase polling is also in full swing in the state. On behalf of NDA, BJP President JP Nadda, Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath, State Chief Minister Nitish Kumar as well as a host of top leaders are on campaign trail. On the other side, RJD leader Tejasvi Yadav is holding marathon rallies for Mahagathbandhan. Campaign for Lok Janashakti Party as well as other parties' campaign has also gathered momentum. BJP Chief JP Nadda and Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath reminded people of Jangal Raj during RJD rule. They also talked of steps taken by Modi government for Bihar.
आज से 15 साल पहले चुनाव का मुद्दा होता था तेल पिलावन लठिया घुमावन। ये इसलिए था क्योंकि लालू प्रसाद जी का जंगल राज था। तब उन्होंने गरीबों को मकान नहीं दिया, रोजगार नहीं दिया, गैस के कनेक्शन नहीं दिए, विद्युत के कनेक्शन नहीं दिए, शौचालय नहीं बनाए, स्वास्थ्य बीमा का कवर नहीं दिया, किसानों के लिए भी कुछ नहीं किया, गरीबों को खाद्यान्न भी नहीं दिया। और ये तो बात की बात है, मूक जानवरों का चारा भी चट कर गए।
While Chief Minister Nitish Kumar is also engaged in vociferous campaigning for the third phase, in his rallies he enumerated the achievements of his government and also attacked the opposition.
काम करने वाले को इज्जत मिलेगी कि खाली जुबान चलाने वाले को मिलेगा, ये फैसला तो आपको करना। हर तबके के उत्थान के लिए काम किया, किसी की उपेक्षा नहीं की।
Leader of opposition in Bihar Assembly Tejasvi Yadav held rallies in several districts including Saharsa and hit out at Nitish government. Tejasvi promised jobs to 10 lakh youth as soon as he comes to power.
इंसाफ दिलाने की लड़ाई है, इंसाफ दिलाने की लड़ाई है, आपको आपका अधिकार दिलाने की लड़ाई है। इसलिए देखिएगा दातुन के चक्कर में वृक्ष मत उखाड़ दीजिए। एकजुट होके गोल बंद होके होशियारी से।
Amidst the campaigning for Bihar elections, politics over death of founder of Lok Janashakti Party, former Union Minister Ram Vilas Paswan, is going on. Former Bihar Chief Minister Jitin Ram Manjhi's party's national spokesperson Danish Rizwan demanded judicial probe into the leader's death. However, responding to the demand, Paswan's son Chirag said there should be no politics over the demise of his father.
उनका निधन अस्पताल में 2 या 3 दिन पहले हो चुका था, लेकिन इस बीच में वो पत्र लिखे पत्राचार लिखते रहे और क्या क्या बात करते रहे और समाचार उनका निधन का प्रकाशित नहीं होने दिया।
और अब किस तरीके से आप एक के बाद एक मुझ में आप हमले किए जा रहे हैं। मेरा वीडियो वायरल करके आप क्या जनता के बीच आप दिखाना चाह रहे हैं और कौन नहीं जान रहा कि पूरा नैरेटिव आप सेट करके दिए हैं।
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Modi once again visited the state. PM will campaign in Araria and Saharsa on Tuesday. Third phase of polling will be held on 7th November and the counting on the 10th. With Patna Bureau, DD India.
In addition to assembly elections in Bihar, by-elections are being witnessed in 56 other assembly seats in 11 states this week. Voting to fill 54 vacant seats in the state assemblies is being held today, while voting for 2 seats in Manipur will be held on the 7th of November. Voting is underway for 28 seats in Madhya Pradesh, 1 seat each in Chhattisgarh, Haryana, Telangana, 8 seats of Gujarat, 2 seats each in Jharkhand, Karnataka, Nagaland and Odisha, and 7 seats of Uttar Pradesh. Also on November 7th, elections will be held for the Valmiki Nagar Lok Sabha seat in Bihar, along with the third phase of polling for the assembly elections in the state. Counting for all seats will be taken up on November 10th. India has slammed Pakistan for supporting cross-border terrorism, taking advantage of the COVID situation. First Secretary of India's permanent mission at UN, Ashish Sharma, said the world has come to a standstill due to the COVID-19, but Pakistan has continued to support cross-border terrorism, taking advantage of the pandemic. Speaking at the interactive dialogue with Special Rapporteur on contemporary forms of racism and other related intolerance, Ashish Sharma said that Pakistan is trying to create divisions among religious communities as well.
While the world has come to a standstill due to the pandemic, but Pakistan has only enhanced support to cross-border terrorism, taking advantage of the pandemic. Pakistan is trying to create divisions among our religious communities as well. Fortunately, their provocation is falling on deaf ears, since India has had a tradition of pluralism and coexistence where all communities live in harmony under a democratic framework. We call on Pakistan to practice coexistence in their own country and eschew all sectarian violence, discrimination and intolerance against their own people. Pakistan has yet again abused this platform to forward its nefarious political agenda. I condemn the comments made by the representative of Pakistan.
The 24th edition of the Malabar naval exercise is scheduled in 2 phases this month. Phase 1 of the exercise, Malabar 20, involving participation by the Indian Navy, the US Navy, Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force and Royal Australian Navy is set to commence off Visakhapatnam in the Bay of Bengal from today to the 6th of this month. The exercise being conducted as a non-contact at-sea only exercise in view of COVID-19 pandemic will showcase the high levels of synergy and coordination between the friendly navies based on their shared values and commitment to an open, inclusive Indo-Pacific and a rules-based international order. And time now to take a look at updates on COVID-19 from across the country. 58,323 recoveries were recorded yesterday, taking the cumulative total of recovered patients to 76,03,121. With this, the recovery rate currently stands at 91.96%. India's three-pronged strategy of test, trace and treat is proving to be a success. The fatality rate has dropped to 1.49% with 1,23,097 deaths recorded so far. The number of active COVID cases in India stands at 5,41,405, which is 6.55% of the total cases reported so far. Uniquely designed integrated government online training platform provides self-contained training material for COVID warriors. It comprises 56 modules, 196 videos and 133 training documents. According to the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, so far, more than 19,20,000 have completed the courses and certificates have been issued to more than 15 lakh online trainees. And now for your daily dose of the US election 2020. And today is the 3rd of November, the day when the world's oldest democracy will vote to elect its president. US President Donald Trump is trying his luck again from the Republican Party, while Joe Biden, who was the Vice President of the US, is the presidential candidate for the Democrats. Voting will begin from 4:30 p.m. according to Indian Standard Time and will continue till 7:30 a.m. on Wednesday. While according to US time, voting will start at 6 a.m. and continue till 9 at night. In many states, polling will begin an hour early at 5 a.m. Voting time has been increased due to COVID-19. The US is on course for its highest electoral turnout rate in more than a century. A record over 9 crore people have voted early, more than 2/3 of the number of votes cast in the entire 2016 election. Those who have not voted through early voting will vote today to elect the new president. Texas and Hawaii have already seen bigger voter turnout than the whole of the last presidential election, while the crucial battlegrounds of North Carolina, Georgia and Florida have over 90% of the 2016 turnout. Our U.S. correspondent Ira Spitzer from California has this report on the latest updates. Let's listen in.
Dramatic buildup to this election day in the United States. We've already seen more votes cast at this point in the election. Americans have been allowed to vote early as usual, but because of the coronavirus pandemic, there have been already close to 100 million ballots already cast, either through voting by mail or through early voting at polling stations. It would make sense, given the tremendous passion as well as animosity on both sides for their candidates. When you look at the messages coming from the president, Donald Trump, and his challenger, Joe Biden, we really do see a United States that does appear as divided as ever. I think the coronavirus pandemic, which has been raging here for the past 8 months, and we've also seen a surge over the past month or so, another surge, and so that is really mobilizing voters. But of course, that is the reason that, or one of the reasons that voters are not necessarily going to vote in person this year because of health worries about the pandemic. So that is largely why we've seen this surge in early voting, and it is also something that perhaps could be subject to legal challenges because of some of the procedural issues with voting in this way.
And you can catch all the latest on the US elections as they happen on DD India. Stay tuned to your channel for a comprehensive exclusive coverage of the elections, complete with experts from India and the US, and a team of reporters on the ground covering coast to coast and everything in between. Don't forget to tune in at 6 p.m. today.
Joe Biden goes head-to-head against Donald Trump. What is at stake in the US election? And why is it important for India and the world? Join us for a 14-hour live coverage of the race for the White House from 6 p.m. on November 3, only on DD India, a billion voices.
And let's now give you an update on the COVID-19 pandemic from across the world. As of now, more than 4 crore 73 lakh coronavirus infections have been contracted worldwide. Over 12 lakh 10,000 have succumbed. Over 3 crore 40 lakh people have recovered from the virus. The United States continues to top the list among worst hit countries with the highest number of infections. The US has over 95 lakh 66,000 cases of corona, with a death toll surging past 2 lakh 36,000. And the World Health Organization Director General Tedros Ghebreyesus said that a recent spike in COVID cases in some countries in Europe and North America presented leaders with a critical moment for action. Top WHO emergencies expert Mike Ryan said governments in Europe face a very difficult situation in controlling rising numbers of COVID cases as their citizens grow weary with renewed restrictions on daily life. WHO Director General Tedros said that he had been identified as a contact of someone who tested positive, but added that he was feeling well and did not have any symptoms. Van Kerkhove said that no clusters have been reported in WHO premises. In the UK, an NHS hospital trust in Liverpool has said it is operating close to capacity, as it houses more COVID patients than during the previous peak of the pandemic in April. The Liverpool University Hospital is currently treating 463 COVID inpatients, 73 more than the peak of 319 early April. A third of all the hospital trust inpatients now have COVID-19, according to hospital data. Doctors working at the hospital told media on Monday that they were working close to the limits of what their hospitals could deal with. With cases rising, England is heading into a second national lockdown. Starting this Thursday, Britain has the highest official COVID death toll in Europe, with more than 20,000 new cases a day. The UK has over 10 lakh 53,000 COVID-19 cases, more than 46,000 deaths. And Germans will be facing restrictions this Christmas, but they should not be lonely, Chancellor Angela Merkel said in a reassuring message to the nation as a month-long lockdown took effect yesterday. The lockdown, which includes closure of restaurants, gyms and theatres, was necessary to protect Germany's health system, warning that the number of people with the virus in intensive care units has doubled in the last 10 days. Striking a more hopeful tone than when she presented the lockdown measures last Wednesday, the Chancellor also said that if Germans reduce their contact with each other in November, they would be able to do more over Christmas. Germany has recorded over 5,60,000 COVID-19 cases and over 10,000 deaths. And in a ghastly terror attack in Austria, several gunmen with rifles opened fire in 6 different locations in central Vienna, killing at least one person. One of the suspects was also killed in the exchange of fire. The shootings took place near the central synagogue late on Monday, but it is not yet clear if that was the target. A large area of central Vienna has meanwhile been cordoned off. Austrian Chancellor has called it a repulsive terror attack. In a tweet, the Austrian Chancellor said police will take decisive action against the perpetrators of the repulsive terrorist attack. The attack happened just hours before Austria imposed new national restrictions to try to stem rising cases of corona. Many people were enjoying bars and restaurants, which must close until the end of November. Back home, Sports Minister Kiren Rijiju on Monday inaugurated the new Regional Centre of Sports Authority of India at Zirakpur in Punjab, which will be one of the main centres of SAI in North India. During this event, Union Sports Minister congratulated the coaches and players who took training at the new centre. Rijiju said that this region of India comes from Jammu and Kashmir to Leh and major parts of Himachal Pradesh. The government's goal is to create world-class sports facilities in India. More than 300 participants took part in the online event. And in the English Premier League, Fulham have defeated West Bromwich 2-0. Fulham secured their first Premier League win of the season as they beat West Brom to move out of the bottom 3. In the opening moments of the match, West Bromwich defenders did not give Fulham players a chance to score, but in the 26th minute of the game, a pass from Fulham to Mitrovic was scored by his player Di Cordova. Only 3 minutes later, another goal was scored by Fulham, which their players managed to score in Ola Anna. No goals were seen in the second half of the game. Leicester City defeated Leeds United 4-1 in a one-sided match. Leicester's first goal was scored by Harvey Burns in the 2nd minute of the game, followed by Laurie's side with Yuri Telemann scoring 2 goals, while Jamie Vardy managed 1. Stuart Dallas was the only scorer for Leeds. With his victory, Leicester City are just 1 point behind number 1 ranked Liverpool in the table. A Switzerland court has started hearing an appeal by Russia over a 4-year ban on participating in major international competitions due to allegations of doping on their athletes and tampering with lab data on their officials. In the 4-day hearing, the Lausanne Court of Arbitration for Sports may deprive Russian athletes of participating in the Tokyo Games next year with their national flag, although Russia has said neither of its athletes used doping nor was there any tampering with the laboratory's data. And that's all we have for you in this edition of the news. News and updates continue on DD India. Namaskar.